Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This webinar is presented by the Net Positive Consortium and the Foundation for Financial Planning about the importance of pro bono financial planning. For the next hour or 45 minutes, if you're watching the replay at 1.5 speed, our distinguished panelists will show how the Net Positive Consortium's principles of driving impact and being involved in your community are served well by working with the Foundation for Financial Planning to help people in need improve their financial lives by expanding access to pro bono financial planning. I'm Scott Leake, your host for this webinar, and I'm with FP Transitions, a very proud strategic partner of the NPC. And earlier this year, working with them, FP did some award-winning research by surveying over 100 students in partnership with the FinServe Foundation to better understand what does the next generation want from their careers in financial services. And I can tell you definitively, pro bono work is important to these students. So to help set the stage on why this topic of pro bono is so important for the present and the future of your firms, here's a few quick data points from that research. So when we asked students, why are you interested in a career in financial planning or financial services, 73% of them said, quote, helping people reach life goals. 89% of them stated that mission and purpose-driven culture were either very important or essential in their choice of future employer, and this rated higher than competitive compensation and benefits. In fact, the only question that rated higher, and when that was at 90%, they said it was either very important or essential to have, quote, mentorship and professional growth. And how did they want to most learn from those mentors? 74% of them said shadowing an experienced planner. And I expect our panelists today are going to incorporate some of these findings into our session. So joining us today, our moderator, Kate Healy, CEO of Advocate IQ, and our panelists, Debbie Badia from Mira Wealth, Maria Daly, Head of Advisor Success and Integration at Paragon Wealth, and John Dauphiné, CEO of the Foundation for Financial Planning. So with that, Kate, take it away.
Thanks so much, Scott. Really appreciate all the support that you give to the foundation and to the Net Positive Consortium. So thank you very much. And thanks for the research. As you know, I'm a huge fan of anything related to next gen. So always great to hear those statistics. So everyone, as Scott mentioned, Kate Healy, welcome to this webinar. I am a proud member of the Net Positive Consortium, as well as I've been involved in the Foundation for Financial Planning for over a decade, and just love the work that they do. So I'm thrilled to moderate today's session. Pro bono planning is one of the most meaningful ways our profession can change lives and strengthen the communities that we serve. For those of you that might be a little bit newer to the Net Positive Consortium, or NPC as we call it because it's a mouthful, our full name is the Net Positive Consortium in Wealth Management. So NPC works really well for us. Our mission is to really help wealth management firms build organizations that create more value for society than they extract. So really how do we leave the world better than we got here with? And so we do that. We have 5 core pillars. One is our people. How do we elevate our advisors and our employees through development? 2 is culture. How do we foster an inclusive, values-driven workplace that we know, we just heard that, right? That's important to the next generation. Growth. How do we drive sustainable long-term business expansion? Our community, which is what we'll focus on. How do we strengthen the communities we work with through the service and impact that we have in those communities? And then finally, the planet. How do we support responsible environmental stewardship? And so all of these pillars matter. And the Net Positive Consortium really focuses on how do we help firms get better in all of them. And so we'll have a series of these webinars. Today's webinar is focusing on the community pillar with, I might add, a little bit of that people piece because and culture, because what we're going to talk about is how this works in your firms. Pro bono planning is one of the most powerful ways that a firm can really activate the community pillar. It's not just philanthropy. It's really a strategic investment in your people, your culture, and your brand. And so advisors who do this consistently report feeling more connected to the profession and more fulfilled in their work. And that's what we know drives culture. In today's competition for talent, it gives employees a clear sense of purpose. We just heard that's important. And it elevates loyalty and advisor engagement. For your firm, it's going to build trust, not just with your clients, not just with your broader community, but future recruits, regulators, all the people that want to see that your organization stands for something. So ultimately, pro bono planning allows us to bring the best of your skills to those who need it, and there are so many that do. It's one of the most direct ways to demonstrate that our profession is a force for good. And that's why today's conversation is so important. We're going to talk about what successful pro bono partnerships look like, how your firm can operationalize them, and why now is the moment to lead in. And so I'm really pleased to turn it over to John Dauphiné, who's going to take us through some research that the foundation has done that will really set the stage here.
Great. Thank you, Kate. It's great to be collaborating on this webinar, and we really appreciate you and the efforts of the NPC as well. So I think we are going to have some interesting research to look at. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, if everyone can see that. Um, but before I get into our research results, I do want to just spend a little bit of time on the Foundation for Financial Planning. For those who aren't familiar with us, our mission is to help people in need improve their financial lives by expanding access to objective fiduciary planning and advice for underserved populations that otherwise would not be able to access it. So it's a terrific mission. We have been around for 30 years. This past year was our 30th anniversary year, and so it's been really exciting to see us gaining momentum, especially in the past couple of years. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And on this slide, you can see some images of real clients of our programs, and we also have a page on our website, an impact page that has many stories, which I encourage you to check out. I think you'll find them really inspirational. We conduct our mission really in three key ways. The first is we develop and help fund pro bono programs at our nonprofit partners across the country. And on this map, you can see where we have the brands listed. These are our current group of grantees, organizations that we're helping to fund. But you can also on this map see a lot of green dots, and that is where we are recruiting and deploying volunteers, CFP professionals as volunteers to do pro bono work with a whole other set of nonprofit partners. Unfortunately, we don't have enough grant funding to give everyone who might request it a grant, but we certainly have built an apparatus where we can deploy volunteers across the nation. This website is called probonoplannermatch.org, and any CFP professional can register and browse opportunities for free. And we then work with nonprofits across the country to populate their opportunities there. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. And then finally, we rally the industry to support the pro bono movement. We have great relationships with CFP Board, FPA, NAPFA, many different firms, and we're all really trying to get this work more and more enshrined as a tradition in the great profession of financial planning and advice. So one of the things we've done in the last couple of years is really do some deep dives research and to really figure out and get our finger on the pulse of trends and how we can best promote this service. And one of the things we asked CFP professionals is why do you do pro bono? So we fielded a survey and it was the largest ever done on pro bono in this space. We had over 1,200 CFP professionals responding. And as you might guess, virtually everyone said, I do this work to help other people. So there's a very compelling moral case, as Kate mentioned, to do this work. But interestingly, almost 80% said they also do pro bono to give back to the profession. They really see it as part of their professional obligation. And so for us, that was also very encouraging because when you look at the values of a profession, if helping those who ordinarily couldn't access the skill set is part of it, then it's much more likely to become rooted and then widespread. Another thing that we heard briefly about from Scott is the way that advisors are looking at pro bono in terms of their employer, in terms of firms. And we asked this big group of CFP professionals, would you rather work at a firm with an encouraging policy on pro bono service? and about half said yes. Interestingly, about 55% of advisors under the age of 35 and female advisors said yes. So it was even a little, came out a little bit more strongly in those segments. But then it was fascinating because we did another research study of over 300 students and other individuals that are seeking to become certified as financial planners within the next year or two. And of that group, a whopping 83% said they would rather work at a firm with an encouraging policy. So again, for those firms that are looking to have a very competitive human capital strategy, we really think actively encouraging pro bono as an employer can be a differentiator and help position your firm as an employer of choice. And then lastly, there's a whole set of value that firms can reap through the professional development of their advisors. We asked advisors who do pro bono, do you bolster your skills in different areas? And we heard very strongly in our research that they bolster both their hard skills and their soft skills. We asked about skills like client listening and communications, interacting with a more diverse client base, taking on new leadership roles and tackling new issues. And as you can see from this slide, the data was really compelling that advisors are finding they bolster their skills that are then transferable to their paid client engagements. So that's a win for the advisor individually and also for the firm. And I should point out that in almost every instance, that younger group of advisors, those under the age of 35, feel like they bolster their skills even more. So it's a great professional development avenue for younger advisors and newer entrants to the profession. We have been so lucky at FFP to have wonderful corporate and firm supporters. And I just want to give a big shout out to those that have joined with us. We have two different programs, what we call our Corporate 100 group of companies, and you can see a lot of their brands here, but then also a program called RIA Impact Partners. And this is specifically designed for RIAs that want to activate their advisor workforce to do this type of skills-based volunteering and also want to support this movement through a charitable donation. And I know we have a lot of Paragon folks in the webinar today and want to give a shout out, especially to Paragon, and then also to Focus Partners Wealth. Both of them are RIA Impact Partners, and I know very involved as well in the Net Positive Consortium. So that's a little bit of a summary of our research, Kate, and I will stop my share and turn back to you.
Great, thanks, John. It's so powerful to see all that, and I'm so glad that you have done the research. The foundation has really been a driving force, I think, to work with the CFP board to get that recommendation of 20 hours of pro bono. And so I want to focus on that, John, because I know, obviously you and I have talked about this a lot, and you often talk about how pro bono is essential for the profession. Talk about why. What are there any trends or data that reinforces that? Why is pro bono so important for financial planning as a profession?
Yeah, so one of the things we do as we really try to grow this movement is we look to the legal field. It's obviously much older than financial planning as a profession, but there's a lot of lessons there. And folks who really know about the legal field know that it's the gold standard of pro bono delivery. And many employers of lawyers, many individual attorneys are very involved in pro bono work. So looking to the legal field, and I should say too that if you run a big law firm in the USA today, you have to be in the pro bono game to remain competitive for legal talent. So it really is that enshrined within that profession. But it wasn't always that way, Kate. It used to be that individual attorneys would decide, okay, well, maybe I want to do pro bono. But a lot of the employers, a lot of the firms were not really in the game. But that changed around the 1980s. The American Bar Association came out with a recommendation that all attorneys should do at least 50 hours of pro bono service each year. And at the same time, the president and the administration were pulling back on funding for legal services for the poor, for lower income families. And so a lot of these employers, these law firms, felt called to step forward in a more structured way to support pro bono. And what's really interesting is we're seeing some of the same things going on right now in financial advice. So, as you pointed out, in 2023, the CFP board recommended that all CFP professionals do at least 20 hours of pro bono service each year. And we had worked with them on that and had advocated for that. And it's a recommendation, but it's a very strong cue to the profession that this work is really highly valued. And the other thing that's happening is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that actually has a lot of resources to help lower income people sort through their financial challenges. They've been significantly cut. So a lot of their programming and resources are going away. So it's a really, really great time for firms and employers of advisors to step forward. And the really great thing is that advisors want firms to step forward. When we did our research, 70% of the CFP professionals we spoke with said, I wish the advisory profession was more like the legal field in its support of pro bono. And then in that younger group that's seeking to become certified in the next year or two, 84% said, I wish our professional field was more like the legal field. So there's a really big appetite that advisors have to do this work. And the other thing I'll say is, uh, there's an awareness, I think a growing awareness that this can benefit the firm, not just the individual advisor. But when we asked folks who are doing pro bono now, why do you do it? In addition to helping others and giving back to the profession, 57% also said it has a positive impact on my business. So I think that also goes to some of the goals of the Net Positive Consortium as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you tie to the legal profession because I often say we're pretty hard on ourselves as a profession. We forget that, the foundation is 30 years old. We're only about 55. We're less than 60 years old as a profession. So we are growing into these things. We're going to beat the legal profession in this. We'll get there. But I appreciate you doing that, talking about that because it is something that's newer for us. So Maria, I want to turn to you and talk about how do you see pro bono, right? So at Paragon Wealth, how does it contribute to talent retention, your culture, employee engagement? Talk about why you're involved in pro bono.
Sure, be happy to. Thanks so much for having me. As John had mentioned, we are actually in the Net Positive Consortium, and we're also in the Foundation for Financial Planning. And I will say they actually work very much hand in hand. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're unique. We're $11 billion RIA. We have 18 offices, and we have about 80 advisors. And so we are really committed to helping advisors grow, and we look at pro bono as really a great path forward. Some of our up and coming advisors where perhaps they're newly minted CFPs, or they're, like John mentioned, they're going to be getting their CFP in a couple of years. And what we have found with the people that are newer in their career, they will say, gosh, I love doing the support work for the advisors in my office, but boy, I would really like some at-bats myself. And what we're finding with doing pro bono work, it's a very safe place for them to learn, especially if they're not a CFP. What's great about the Foundation for Financial Planning, a CFP has to oversee the work, but you can be working with someone that's not a CFP. And so we've been doing a lot of what I would call a mentor-mentee sort of combo, and picking different organizations around the country. I think one of the things that Paragon does very well is we allow our offices to continue to interact with the community in which they serve. And so we actually have a Slack channel. It's called Paragon Life. People post all sorts of volunteer things that they do. They post, "Hey, I'm going to be doing this seminar. Who else maybe wants to participate?" It's a really engaging community, and it's very lively. And I think it just speaks to the culture of the firm and helps reinforce it. And one more thing, I know I'm talking a lot, but we
Oh,
also
you're
did something very proud of. We took a pledge of a 1% initiative. We call it the 111 program within our firm. And what that means is we're pledging 1% of our revenue, 1% of our services, and 1% of people's time. And we actually allow and encourage, actually putting in our handbook next year, that 8 hours a quarter, you are allowed to leave work. And we encourage you to leave work and volunteer.
That's awesome. I love that. 111. It's so easy to remember.
Mhm.
But that's really important. You're talking about, really putting your money where your mouth is. Like that's incredible. So I love that. So this has been great, like listening to all of what the industry is doing, what a firm is doing. But Debbie, you're the one that actually does the pro bono financial planning. I want to talk to you about so you're doing the work. what has this done for you professionally? How has this helped shape your career? Because you've got an interesting story.
Yeah, so I'm a career changer, and I probably, when John was showing the slides about the aspiring planner, I'm like, that was me. That was me. I, worked with the Financial Planning Association and got introduced to the Foundation for Financial Planning when I was a student and got paired with people with a CFP and started volunteering to gain more experience as a career changer from the sciences going to the finance. It was a little intimidating thinking about
Yeah.
talking to clients and talking about big clients. So getting that practice and then finding a firm like where I work with now, Mira Wealth, that actually encourages, pro bono planning and has it a part of their website. When I was applying for a job back like 7 years
Mhm.
ago, I was looking for firms that, spoke to me. And one of the things I did look at, do they give back to the community? Are they a proponent for the profession? So yeah, I think it has shaped me. I gave me confidence to work with clients, and I feel like now I can go into a room with, big clients and not be shy, not be intimidated, and be able to like I know what I'm talking about and how I can communicate and establish trust with the clients. I think it also helps me relate to clients better because, like, especially when you have clients who are charitably inclined and like to do volunteering themselves, it's something that you can connect with your clients. So I think some of our clients have gone to us because they do see that we do a lot for the profession and try to do a lot and are proud of that.
That's awesome. I never thought of it that way, also as a way for you just to connect with your clients. So, building it into your brand on the website and all that is great. It helped attract you as a recruit, but it can also help attract clients and that connection piece. That's really important. Because we know, we're talking a lot about, I often talk about the next generation of planners, but it's also the next generation of clients. They have the same values as the next generation of planners. So there's a big overlap there. So I love that. I want to stick with you for a second. So you're actually working with clients who are in different situations, right? They've got some vulnerabilities. They're not clients who often come to a financial advisor and are set and just need ways to figure out how to either distribute their money or allocate their money. What's it like? And how does it help you with your regular clients?
It's still the basics of when you take your CFP curriculum, working with cash flows, debt management. And it's really nice that the Foundation Financial Planning, when you volunteer with them, they give you all the material to refresh your material. So you might not talk about debt management because your clients that you're seeing don't have that problem, but having those resources available so you can talk to them. And so to me, it's challenging, it's problem solving, it's like trying to keep my skills up and up to date having, talking to people at different points in their career. And again, helping people who are in need, it's very rewarding that you can help them and, the smile on their face, the relief that you see that they're like, they can breathe and relax, that it's not the end and that you give them hope that they can get their stuff together and be organized is priceless to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Maria at Paragon, have you seen the younger advisors that work at your firm or newer advisors, have they expressed a desire to do more purpose-driven work? Have you seen that in your firm, and does pro bono help with that?
We see it very much. All I think the culture of the firm is everyone wants to give back to the community, but I would say, especially with our young employees, they are very, very engaged in the community, and we do a lot of um, community volunteering. Like, and that again gets put on Paragon Live, but people on their own offices are getting together and doing food banks or whatever. And I think it's just so important. And a lot of people have expressed an interest since we've joined the Foundation for Financial Planning. How do I get involved? I'm not a CFP, but I want to do some work. And what I love about the FFP is, as John mentioned, they have a map of lots of different organizations you can volunteer at. They also have put together a really great workshop that you can give to some non-for-profits would like people to give a seminar just on budgeting or savings, very simple, but they put together a curriculum that a number of people at our firm can go no matter if they're a CFP or not. And that is just lifts everybody up at the firm as far as their learning and what they can do.
I think that's great, and I think it's a great segue into kind of how do we operationalize this, right? Like we're talking about this out here in the ether, right? But it sounds great, but at the end of the day, what do firms have to do? So, John, maybe can you talk a little bit about the pathways that you've created to help firms integrate pro bono into their businesses?
Yeah, sure. And I especially encourage firms to look at becoming an RIA impact partner because that's sort of a very clear pathway. And just as an example, Paragon has been sort of joining with us and building out, its capacity for pro bono. And we do like a lunch and learn, and we really try to make sure we're lowering barriers and creating incentives with our partners. But I think for any firm, some of the things to consider, and this is based on our research and also just a lot of our experience, is appoint a C-suite level person to at least oversee this and really promote it. From the top so that it's clear that the firm really does back this. It's not just a couple advisors who want to do it, but that culturally the firm is aligned with this. And then connect it to the firm's mission and the firm's values. I think that's very powerful when employees can see, how it fits in the broader DNA of the firm. And again, it's a terrific badge for a good culture in a firm. So very important, I think, for prospects and people who may become clients to see the commitment. And some of the other things, consult with the HR group, the compliance group. Occasionally we have advisors say, like, I went to compliance and, it was treated as this one-off and, they didn't really know. So, having that conversation up front with compliance that this is something the firm supports and trying to smooth the path is great. And FFP has resources. We have a really exhaustive compliance FAQ. We have model HR policies. So we really try to give our partners everything they might need to smooth the way. And then we do have a training. Debbie mentioned some of our resources for volunteers. We have kind of Pro Bono 101, which sort of explains how CFP professionals can use pretty much the skills they already have just to reorient them towards that lower income population that they may not be seeing in their daily paid practice. And then register on probonoplannermatch.org. That's another simple step. It's free. And for anyone who takes our training and connects to an opportunity through our platform, we offer complimentary E&O liability insurance coverage. So it's just another way to kind of add peace of mind. And then the final thing I'd say is with CFP Board coming out with that recommendation of 20 hours, definitely encourage education around that benchmark and then the tracking of hours that advisors are doing and reporting of hours too. And CFP professionals are asked to report their pro bono hours to CFP Board when they renew their credential. And so just reminding advisors of that is really great and really helps us collect the data in a universal way, which is really powerful when we tell the story of the impact that this profession is having on Americans that need this type of help.
Yeah, I think that's great. So just a reminder for folks on the webinar, if you have any questions for us, you can put that in the chat in the Q&A. We're monitoring that. But also we're going to put links to probonoplannermatch.org and the Foundation for Financial Planning and the Net Positive Consortium as we're going through this. So that was a good reminder there. So
Hey,
Mario,
can I
yeah,
ask,
go ahead.
you were going to ask me, but I wanted to just, you mentioned how do you operationalize or really get this going in your organization? I will say it takes a champion to get it done. And you can't just say it once. We've had webinars. We have a whole Slack channel on pro bono, CFP pro bono. I think we're thinking about we typically have not taken on one project across the enterprise. We're thinking about doing that to get more people involved. We have people doing things on more of a local level and things that they're very passionate about, but we're trying to think about doing something more collectively. And I will also say, having younger people know they have the permission from the firm to take those 8 hours, because I think sometimes younger people are afraid to speak up and say they want to volunteer. Here, they have a hall pass, so to speak, to do that. And I think that's really important too, to say, hey, we're encouraging this, and we want you to do it quarterly.
Maria, I love that you said that because I do think, it's like any marketing effort, right? Like repetition is sort of, making sure people, tune in and can take advantage of whatever the firm is supporting. And then also, I love how you're connecting pro bono and skills-based volunteering to volunteer time off, the 8 hours a quarter, because a lot of firms are offering that already. So it's a pretty simple matter of just connecting the dots with the advisor workforce and saying, hey, as you are able to take advantage of this benefit, you might consider doing pro bono work, and sort of how easy it is to get involved. Yeah, so I love those observations.
I'll
Thank
echo Maria because I'm like in a small RIA,
you.
and the first thing I noticed is like, they had, paid time for pro bono. Then it's like, are people, so the first thing is like, are you allowed to volunteer? Do they encourage it? And then like you have to go, you kind of look around and you're like, are people actually volunteering? How are they volunteering? Are they not? And I like how you said, John, incorporating in your values. So now like we're looking to try to organize it as a small firm that we all volunteer together versus, a couple of us were volunteering separately with the organization, different organizations to get it. But I think you have to, management needs to lead by example. If people aren't, if you just have the PTO for pro bono and no one's using it, there's a reason why no one's using it. They don't see the permission and you got to lead by example. So then having a group that we all do it together kind of encourages people that they can do it on their own. They could do it as a group.
Yeah,
I
and
love
actually,
that.
Deborah, and to Maria, your point, we are creating kind of a program in a box, that all of our partners can use with nonprofit community partners, so they can go out as a group and lead a workshop, and then sign up folks for one-on-one discussions with advisors. And actually, our partner Morton Wealth is working on that with us, and that should be available within the next quarter or two. But we're really excited about that because it's going to be even more turnkey resources that firms can use, in their community of choice. So wherever they have like a home office or a lot of advisors, it's a really good option, for them to look at.
Right. And I think you have a lot that are virtual too, John, which I like. So, we can work together, different offices, um, because it's a virtual and we don't have to physically be there. And I think that works really well too.
Yeah, a lot of our, I just saw, a note to talk a little bit about pro bono plannermatch.org. That's any CFP professional can register and then browse opportunities. And FFP works with hundreds of nonprofits across the country. And those nonprofits are allowed to post the opportunities to give back to their constituents on our site. And then we do a warm match. The advisor can browse and search by a whole bunch of different keywords, or, Maria, to your point, I want to do a virtual, engagement right from my desk. I want to do it in this community. I want to help veterans. There's all kinds of ways they can narrow down, what they want to do. And then also time commitment varies. So they can find very light time commitment opportunities too, which we know can be very important. And then we do the warm match. The nonprofit reaches out and then handles the management of the volunteer and the moving forward relationship. But it's a great way to really see at a glance, all of the various ways to do pro bono with our partners across the country. So again, really encourage folks to check it out. And there's a whole multitude of ways to help: workshops, one-on-ones, coaching, all kinds of different options.
John, when you sign up for pro bono planner match, um, will you then get notifications of opportunities that are of interest that you've picked? So that's kind
Yes.
of, you don't have to go
Yeah.
back and look at it every week. Is that?
Exactly. You can sign up for push notifications, and you will get those periodically when a new opportunity posts that you might be interested in.
Okay.
So it's definitely something that we don't, require you to keep going back, because that would
Right.
be.
That's great. Yeah, that because we get all excited about something, and that's where I want to build on, like, Debbie, when you talked about, you don't know when you get to a firm, are other people doing this? Like, you don't know what someone's doing when they're on the phone. You don't know if they're talking to a paid client or a pro bono client. So I think, um as someone who's a marketer, it's also important when you get that leadership involvement to get the marketing and communication support and tell those stories within the firm, because that's what's going to give people permission, like, oh, we're doing this. I think showcasing that, taking photos when if you're at a community day, not for pro bono financial planning, but those are the kinds of things that drive the engagement. But I think it's so important to make sure that not only do you have a champion, but that you talk about this within a firm. I know from my own experience when I worked for larger firms, we would be doing all of these great things, and I would just have a side conversation with an associate, and they would like, I had no idea that we supported that. That's fantastic. I love that we do that. And I would think, oh my gosh, we have to get so much better at telling it, putting it in our Slack channel or on our internet site or whatever we're using to communicate to people that, hey, here's how we support the environment that we're in and getting that participation in those ideas. So I do think that that's a really important piece along with the champion. I want to talk a little bit about measurement. Do any of you actually measure the impact of what this does in your firm? Maria and Debbie kind of focused on you. Like, do you have this as part of your advisor satisfaction scoring or any employment engagement surveys or things that you do? Just how do you know? Maybe you don't, but what are you working towards to help you know that this is something important in your firm and that you want to continue?
I could go first. Again, being at a small firm, like we are now slowly starting to track it more. Um, and encouraged to report it on the CFP board, see like who's can earns the badges now. If you volunteer so many hours, you'll get like a badge that you can display. Um, you know, but yeah, we like put it on the CRM as a task. I did pro bono this
Mhm.
much, as same thing as we do like for CE. We're because they want to know that we're taking our CE credits to stay licensed. Same thing with the pro bono. Are you using it? What are you doing? Because technically, like on your E4, it's like an outside business activity you have to report.
Just- Yeah,
So it's just all different ways of how you want to track it and measure it. But it's not just measuring; it's also celebrating it and repeatedly.
love
And
that. Love that. Celebrate it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, Debbie. Thank you.
I think it's great. We have created a form, but I will argue in transparency, it doesn't, not everyone fills out the form so that we can track it. I think some people, it gets lost. There's lots of different things that distract advisors during the day. When I say distract, I mean they get pulled in so many different directions. So I think for us, it's the Slack channel Paragon Live. People are very, very good about posting. That's really caught on. And so when you can see an office has volunteered or someone's done a one-off at a charity that they're part of, but they've posted pictures, we really encourage that. And that I think has really taken on a life of its own in a really good way. And so that's been helpful, but we can't, it's been harder to track. Obviously, CFP is a little bit easier if they're on the CFP side and putting in their pro bono hours, but it's a little harder for the community involvement. I
Yeah,
mean, that is still
yeah.
that is a challenge because you're at the mercy of someone remembering to do it.
Right, but I do love that some of you integrate it into Salesforce and celebrate that. I think that's great. And do any of you celebrate it on LinkedIn as well, or any other social media sites for either your firm and or the advisor themselves?
I had to be reminded when I volunteered by my management to celebrate it on LinkedIn. It's not like my normal thing of posting stuff
Right.
on LinkedIn, but yeah, trying to get
Yeah.
in just yeah to celebrate it. Like happy that I gave a webinar with the library in Miami-Dade, on different topics and everything last year and stuff and everything. Just trying to remember to post stuff because I get all excited like I'm doing it, I'm gonna go do it, but I'm like I'm not somebody who automatically thinks that I gotta celebrate it
Right.
and put it on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm trying to
It's
remember
hard
that
to.
now.
And
Yeah.
that's true, Debbie. We're trying to do that too. I think, some people are better at posting on LinkedIn than others.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily natural for self-promotion, so to speak. So we've been encouraging our advisors to post, and then we've been trying to tag it on our LinkedIn page, or if they don't want to post, we'll post it and hopefully they'll tag, so we're
Yeah.
trying to get a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and Debbie, the badges that you mentioned, if you report
Love
a
that.
certain level of hours to CFP board, you get like a digital badge you can use on your social media,
Yeah.
or the firm could, put it on their website next to the advisor's bio. And that's I think, a cool way too, just to help with the visibility and also to benchmark, because the badges go up pretty high. So certain people are just doing amazing amounts, but really any level kind of showing that you're engaged in helping underserved families, I think is meaningful for clients, for prospects. So it's great that you're leveraging LinkedIn.
Yeah, badges are easier to post and share, like trying to find
Right.
the words and what to do. Like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
So my manager's like, put it in Chat GPT, say to create a LinkedIn post on this topic, and it does. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not as a harder little lift and just kind of edit it,
Right. Yeah.
know.
And have your this is a call out to all the marketing leaders on the phone too. help your advisors do this, right? Because they're not in this business, many of them, to just post about themselves. So anything you can do to help make that easier with a little toolkit of, just, hey, want to celebrate that I did my, 15th hour of pro bono this year, or whatever milestone you think is appropriate. I think that's great. Before we switch, I want to start to tie this back to the Net Positive Consortium, but John, I just wanted to talk about the training. We've been talking a lot about CE credit. If you take training, the Pro Bono Training 101, do you get CE credit for that?
Yes, you get a CE
Okay.
credit for that. And then we do offer webinars roughly every other month. And if you
Okay.
attend live, you also get a CE credit for that. And those are free. And they're on really interesting topics that are pretty, across the board, that apply to both paid and pro bono engagement. So it might be like, helping a client deal with money, stigma, and shame. It might be helping them when they're they're within the family context, how to navigate that. So it's a pretty, there was one on, we did recently on helping folks with disabilities and some of the need to know things there. So it's a really broad range of topics, and they're all listed on our website under webinars. We do record them and offer them for free recorded, but to get the CE, you do have to watch those live.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. So we're here today because this is one of the pillars in the Net Positive Consortium. And one of the things that we're doing with the Net Positive Consortium, and you'll be hearing more and more about us as we grow as an organization and more firms connect to us. We're trying to educate you on how you can do this, right? Because it sounds really daunting when we say, well, we're going to leave the world in a better place, and there's all these pillars that we're going to work on, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm trying to do my day job. How am I going to do all of this? And so, really, creating more educational opportunities like this to talk about the people, the culture, the growth, your community, and the planet, and ways that you can help that. That's really the goal of the Net Positive Consortium. And if you go to the Net Positive Consortium website, you will see that there are case studies on there. There's a whole executive brief where we actually ask firms every 18 months to report on what they are doing that fulfills those pillars. And to be a member of the Net Positive Consortium, you need to be on track to fulfilling at least three of the five pillars, right? Because every firm can't do everything. Smaller firms, right? There can be different, there can be some challenges to doing all of it, but we recognize that. And so when we think of, the mission of the Net Positive Consortium and the mission of the Foundation for Financial Planning, um, what is the an opportunity for us to work together more? Do any of you see any opportunities for Net Positive and the Foundation for Financial Planning to work more together, or firms that are involved in either one of those? I think we talked about this a little bit, but is there anything that we haven't talked about yet? Ways to cross collaborate there?
You know, the five pillars, I mean, it was such a natural for us to join Net Positive Consortium as well, because it's just our culture. If I think about, we naturally are doing the community that, we support local communities and important causes through charitable giving and volunteering. So that actually, I think, lends itself well to the work that the Foundation for Financial Planning is doing. We're doing a lot of work with our clients on impact investing. We have a whole impact team. So I'm just thinking through like a lot of the things, and I'm sure there are many firms out there that have embraced at least four of the five pillars. I think the harder pillar for us is the planet, minimizing environmental impact. I'm not quite sure if that means to like,
It can mean
recycle.
a lot of things. It can mean no plastic bottles in your
Yeah,
office, right? You don't use
yeah,
plastic water bottles. It can mean minimizing your travel impact, figuring
yeah.
out how you cannot
Sure.
travel to all the things and use, video conferencing more. So there's, yeah, a lot of
Good.
different things.
Yeah,
And
no, you're right. Yeah.
those are kinds of things that we're having firms talk about. Like we're focusing on pro bono for this webinar, but when you go to the website, right? Because we're all wondering, like I wondered the same thing. I'm like, what can I do? I'm
Yeah.
one person. Like what impact can I make?
But I think so. So they really do go hand in hand, and I think for team members, one of your other pillars, it's that promoting holistic well-being, which I think all of us are talking about. That through pro bono work and helping others. I mean, the young people that come in, they're like, look, I want to make a difference in this world, and all of the work that FP Transitions just showed and John just showed, you can see that that is so important to everyone, but especially to the younger people that are coming into our profession, which gives me so much encouragement. Very, very excited to see that.
And I throw my marketing hat on all the time. It's also, don't forget that your next generation of clients have those same values, right? So that's where it's celebrating these things on your website because that's what they're looking for. Like, what are you doing for the world? That's great, right? We've seen the world change before us, right? And younger people have different values than maybe generations that came before them, and it's really important to them, right? I laugh at one of the firms I worked with. We didn't give volunteer time off until it kept showing up in the employee survey. And I was like, wow, these people are better than I was. I never thought that I should just go be volunteering. Like it's in their DNA now. They did it in school. They had to do community service in many schools to graduate high school. So it's just a different, which is great for everyone, I think. But at firms have to advance and capture that and to make sure that it's showcasing it because again while we're talking about your firms and the community impact of it, it's part of your business as well, right? That next generation of client is looking for the same thing, so there's a very big overlap there between your associates and what your future clients are looking like, so I think that's important.
And
um
Kate, I would offer comment too, because I know, pro bono kind of helps satisfy that community prong of the Net Positive
yeah,
Consortium, and which is awesome. But one thing I really love about how pro bono plays out is it goes to the very core product of these firms, right? So it really highlights how valuable that is, not just to high net worth folks, but to people of all, income levels. And the other thing is when we talk to students and people who are trying to become certified, especially as that work that pool diversifies, that talent pool diversifies. A lot of them do not come from wealth, and a lot of them would like to lend their skills, to families like theirs, in addition to high net worth clients. And pro bono lets them do that. So it's a really cool way to sort of attract people and also give them a sense of belonging. And then the last thing is we know if the employer gets behind it, 53% of advisors said, let's say they would do more pro bono. And of that group under the age of 35, 71% say they would do more if they really felt like their employer supported that. So to Debbie's point, that's really powerful when it's not just kind of that individual person wanting to do it, but there is real support. And so I love that, you really see this as part of the MPC framework.
Yeah, Kate,
yeah,
we actually were working with the financial planning Foundation for Financial Planning, like two advisors. And then as we were having groups like, strategic, talking about what we want to do at Mira Wealth, and we were like, we want to have a positive impact. We want to be doing more as a firm, not just as individuals and everything. And that's how then management came back with Net Positive Consortium and going, hey, might be a good match. And that's why we kind of joined. We're trying to figure out, you know, what we can do what could you do more and, do the different pillars. Like we were already and realizing when we got the form, we were already doing some of the stuff that was in the other pillars. We just like didn't really have it formally documented that we were trying to be more environmentally friendly and using like, the little water bottles for our clients that are recyclable, that are not plastic, that are just kind of that are easier to recycle and stuff and everything. Just little things that we try to do, mugs versus, using disposable cups for coffee,
right.
trying to be as paper efficient as, as possible.
I love that. Like, and it's so important, right? Because I think that's such an important value, and all of us, right? As we look around, we're making an impact on this planet, and we all are trying. I think, many of us, especially that's why the Net Positive Consortium, it grew out of a larger, it's a worldwide effort. This is the one focused in wealth management, but we can all do a little bit. And to your point, Debbie, many firms are already doing this. They've just never cataloged it. So I urge you to go to the website at the Net Positive Consortium and I think we're going to put those, oh, here it is, netpositivewealth.com. You'll see the form that you can fill out. And as you're filling it out, you're like, oh my gosh, we are doing this. We're already doing all of these things. And so I think that's really important. So for firms that are considering this, one of the things that we've heard too from members is there are a lot of firms that are B Corps that are, really looking back to make an impact. But with some of the ownership structures of some of today's wealth management firms, it's not possible to be a B Corp. And so many firms are looking to the Net Positive Consortium because there are many shared values with the pillars that we're looking at. And so for firms, I would say that are thinking of we want to do something, we thought about a B Corp. It's a little bit of a lot of bit of a more stringent application process. But this is a great way to start, right? Take a look at Net Positive Consortium and see, and it's becoming a community. We just did a survey of all the members and we got back great results. And many of the results are, can you get us more opportunities to learn? How do we bring folks together? And we're looking at, do we do more study groups? We've tried to get together at some, big conferences. That's always kind of a little bit impossible. What I loved was we were all at Future Proof and one of the members decided that we needed to be recognized that we're a part of the Net Positive Consortium. And he literally made post-it notes for all of us to wear. Instead of a badge, instead of a pin, we all walked around with post-it notes that said, ask me about the Net Positive Consortium. But I love that he just on his own went and did that. So, it's really is this movement and we're seeing more and more people get involved with it. So just double checking to see if we have any questions from the audience, if there's anything that we haven't covered that folks would like to hear from. I don't see any more popping in, but I think that, as we're closing, is it just any closing thoughts from folks that we want to talk about and then we'll just recap and
I'd say as you start doing this, if you're new to it and you go through the foundation for financial planning, is to be patient, especially if you're doing webinars or meeting one-on-one with people, realizing that these people are stressed and they might not show for their appointment, might have an emergency come up and they might need to reschedule. Don't let that discourage you, that eventually, but I like that you have the flexibility that if you're doing stuff on Zoom, you can, block your hours that you're willing to volunteer, appointments come up, you start talking to the people, getting to know them, and, if they need to reschedule, just to be a little patient because it is
Life
annoying when people
happens.
don't show up, but you have to understand that they're in a stress situation and a lot of stuff is going on and they might need a little bit more time.
that's such a great point. I know we cover this in the pro bono training, right? Because this is a stressful and sometimes shameful conversation that folks are having. You know this even from your paid clients, right?
Mhm.
Finances, no one talks about it to anyone until all of a sudden maybe there's a problem. So giving people that grace, I think, is so important. And what a great suggestion. Well, appreciate all of your time today. I think that, this the impact that we're making on the communities, on advisor development, I think that pro bono really fits into the pillar with Net Positive Consortium and really thinking about how doing pro bono financial planning can be a culture differentiator for your firm. These are all important things, and I hope that you've all been able to take that away. John, do you want to just talk for a little bit about how firms can start with the Foundation for Financial Planning?
Yeah, so again, we've tried to make it as simple as possible. We know how busy advisors are, firms are, firm leadership. So we've created a pathway called RIA Impact Partners. There is a charitable donation that comes as part of that, but we've kept it at a very reasonable, rate so that firms of any size can meaningfully engage. And really, when you do RIA Impact Partners, we have benefits that offer visibility for your firm, including in ads that are donated by the trade press, access to things like our model HR policies, all sorts of tools and resources for your firm to really help embed this and give you a great running start. And then a terrific learning community. We have our folks come together at least twice a year, the firm leadership. We're also creating a program called Pro Bono Ambassadors to really gin up more and more volunteerism and engagement. As well as that program in a box I referenced that will be available to work in community for all of our firm partners with their chosen nonprofit partners. So there's just a lot of partnering and resourcing that we do with our partners. And my colleague just put in the chat, if you're interested, we would love to talk to you. And again, one of the exciting things about this sort of interpretation of community is pro bono offers an individual learnings they can use for a lifetime. They can share with their family. They can share with their community. So it's arguably a lot more powerful because of that amplification effect than, say, going to a soup kitchen, which is also great, but which doesn't have that really lasting potential for impact. So we're really excited again to have the conversation today. And Kate, it's great to collaborate and to see firms stepping up. It's been really exciting.
That's
Yeah,
great. Thank you. Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was going to say, I just wanted to thank you, both of your organizations, for making it so much easier. I mean, I think NPC has set a really great framework for the pillars. I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of firms are already doing it, but you set it in a great context. And then I think for the Foundation for Financial Planning, the training and just how easy you make it to be able to do pro bono work is really special. So thanks to both and representing your organizations.
I echo that.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank Debbie and Maria. Thank you so much. John, thank you for all the info. Really appreciate you guys sharing your stories, sharing your best practices, and talking about it. And I would just encourage everyone to reach out, take a look at the NPC website. It's netpositivewealth.com. Go to probonoplannermatch.org and check out ffpprobono.org. And just think about what's one small thing you can do next week to get onto the path for pro bono planning within your firm. So thank you all again. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to everyone, and I really appreciate all your time today.
Great.
Thank you. Happy
Thanks.
holidays.